10 Star Trek characters J.J. Abrams introduced to canon. Star Trek 2009 introduced the much-loved franchise to a new audience with a successful reboot. Director J.J. Abrams' initial spacefaring feature film launched a new, superbly recast Star Trek, the original series crew, and introduced the Anything Goes alternate Kelvin timeline. Initially introducing origin stories for the movie's leading characters, James T. Kirk, Chris Pine, and Spock, Zachary Quinto. A series of unexpected and dramatic events soon leads to the early formation of the young, iconic USS Enterprise crew. As Kirk and Spock, Captain Christopher Pike, Bruce Greenwood, and the crew of the USS Enterprise work to overcome the universe-altering threat, a slew of familiar and new faces make spaces of significance in Federation history. Over Abrams' 3 Kelvin timeline Star Trek movies, previously established but unseen and newly originated characters are revealed to delight or terrify audiences. The 3 movies' villains devastatingly influence Federation history, substantially affecting Star Trek's established multiverse timeline and posing dangers previously unseen. It's important to note that Abrams' films commendably prioritize character and crew-based tension as a primary source of conflict, resulting in subtle yet worthy character developments and heightening the impact and fallout of each villain's despicable drive. With a focus on these new and previously unseen faces, here's a look at 10 Star Trek characters J.J. Abrams introduced into canon. Previously unseen in the Star Trek franchise, Lieutenant George Kirk, Chris Hemsworth, served on the U.S. Kelvin under the command of Captain Richard Robow, Farron Tahir. George was the youngest first officer in Starfleet history at the age of 29, a legacy later advanced by his son James T. Kirk, youngest captain. Following Nero's arrival and the subsequent murder of Robow, George Kirk was advanced to the U.S. Kelvin's commanding officer. Winona Kirk, Jennifer Morrison, a fellow Kelvin crew member and pregnant wife to George, is removed to an escaping medical shuttle when George Kirk evacuates the ship in light of Nero's attack. With the ship's automatic controls offline, George Kirk opts to remain on board and gives his life, manually pilot the ship into Nero's ship, the Narada, to protect the escaping shuttles. George Kirk's youngest son, James Tiberius Kirk, was born and named moments before George's death. In Star Trek Beyond, Captain James T. Kirk, Chris Pine, is troubled by his turning a year older than George was when he died, contrasting the reasons they each enlisted in Starfleet. Kirk says he joined because he believed in it. I joined on a dare. It's hard to overstate the significance and influence that George Kirk had on Starfleet history, as well impact on the life choices and development of his youngest son. Making the ultimate sacrifice to aid in the survival of others, George Kirk makes a bold and explosive entrance into Star Trek legend.